Good evening. It's Friday, the 7th of April, and welcome to the Diary of the Man with the Dog. Since we came back from Holland, or should I say the Netherlands, the week's gone fairly quickly. We had plugged back into work, and it's been a busy week. And we're looking forward to the weekend, which I hear is going to be warm and sunny. So, wanted to share something I was fascinated by this week. BBC 4 is rerunning the series called The Silk Road. It's by a historian called Sam Willis. Great character. I watched the first episode and I was hooked. It's absolutely fascinating, extraordinary. How significant the Silk Road was in shaping the world we know today. It was sort of the first bridge, if you like, between the East and the West, and involved this extraordinary flow of goods and services, people, ideas, inventions. But for it, Europe would still be writing on leather, probably think the world was flat, and there'd be no rhubarb crumble to delight the British palate. So I will be watching with a great deal of interest, and I would keep being reinforced of this view that we are a lot closer to each other than we sometimes think ourselves into believing that we are not. I was thinking that our history as a species starts approximately 60 to 80,000 years ago, and chances are that your ancestors probably knew mine, as they all started their journeys somewhere in the east of Africa, and in between stuff happened. I was also thinking that in the bigger scheme of things, what percentage is 60 to 80,000 years constitute, in the planet's history of, about 14.7 billion years? And what percentage is a human life of these days, say 80 years or so, constitute? Of course, while the here and now is important, a macro view like this can often be a wise template in conflict resolutions. We are one people, and looked from a mile up in the sky. I was thinking we would look just the same as ants, dogs or cats, and a few further miles up we've gone all together. On that notion of oneness and our de facto insignificance, I wanted to share about our fondness for the works of a Catholic monk of the Franciscan order. He's called Father Richard Rohr. So we are big fans of his teachings in this household. he talks a lot lately about dualistic thinking as a root of all evil, as a root of separation from our fellows, and as a root of all conflicts. It's interesting what he has to say, and he explains rather beautifully, he says the natural way the mind already knows as a child is in opposition to something else. It is funny that we have to have this explained to us. But he wouldn't know what cold was unless there was such a thing as hot. If everything in the world was the same temperature, we wouldn't have these words. Unfortunately, we create these contrary words as necessary for the world we live. That is, all kinds of comparisons, competitions. It becomes our primary way of reading reality. So since this is the way we think, very soon we tend to think oppositionally. The ego prefers to make one side better than the other, and thus males become better than females, America becomes better than Canada, the Democrats become better than Republicans, and for most people, once this decision is made, it is amazing the amount of blindness they become capable of. Everything has to be understood in opposition to something else. And in this process, he says that the truth gets lost. It's curious when I read this of a Catholic monk, fundamentally a product of the Western world, because what he's talking about, dualism or non-dualism, is what the Hindus, about 3,000 years before the birth of Christ, were propagating in their school of philosophy called Advaita Vedanta. So, literally translated from Sanskrit, Dvaita means two, dual. Advaita is no dual, non-dual. So Advaita Vedanta, when I saw Richard Rohr, I thought, this is Advaita Vedanta, which is fantastic because this is my diary about today when I talked about the Silk Road, that how close we are. And no rhubarb crumble without the Chinese and the Silk Road. Rhubarb crumble, ironically, is probably the most British of all desserts. Father Richard Rohr, a Franciscan monk, a Catholic preaching from Albuquerque in New Mexico, is talking about Vedantic philosophy in his later years of wisdom. How amazing is this? So we are one. So this diary is about our oneness. But before I finish, I think the week literally goes to this gentleman called Jack Reynolds. Jack is a man from Derbyshire. He recently celebrated his 105th birthday by going on a roller coaster. Go, Jack. Last year, on his 104th birthday, he got himself a tattoo. And the previous year, on his 103rd, he's the oldest one to do the Ice Bucket Challenge. So Jack Reynolds, you're the hero this week. I will say goodbye for now. It's Easter weekend coming up, and we are heading for our travels again. And we're heading back to Scotland, to a very special place. And we're going back there merely after about 2 months. And I will speak to you from Bonnie, Scotland next weekend. And until then, take care. Bye for now.